Can I see your T-shirt?
A really significant war correspondent of the 20th century.
A proper suffragist jewel.
So how old was your mother when she was recruited as a spy?
21.
Tanya, we're here to talk about your mother, the extraordinarily courageous World War II spy, Violette Szabo. Now, tell us about her. She was born in France, raised for some of her childhood in France, but then came to Britain.
Exactly. Born of a French mother, an English father, in the British military hospital in Paris.
She met your father, but they were together a very short time before he was killed.
Yes.
On the front.
Yes. He was killed at El Alamein on the second battle.
It was the death of your father, I imagine, that drove Violette to join the Special Operations Executive as a spy, was it?
Exactly. Violette definitely wanted to be involved.
So how old was your mother when she was recruited as a spy?
21.
And she was given false papers, and we've got a copy of the false papers here. And what was the false name she was given?
Corinne Leroy.
Leroy.
My grandmother's surname.
And so her job was to go behind enemy lines in France to help the French resistance.
Yes, her first mission was in April of 44, and she managed to persuade the resistance to bomb a viaduct near Rouen, which was bringing equipment and all the rest of it from Germany. And that was highly successful, but extremely dangerous.
Of course, and she was living this double life, in fear of being discovered at any moment.
Absolutely.
And when she was captured, she held off something like 40 Germans single-handedly with her Sten gun to allow a member of the resistance to escape.
Yes.
For her to hold off so many Germans...
She was a good shot.
She must have known that she wasn't going to come out of that.
Yes, without a doubt.
She was taken and interrogated and tortured, wasn't
she was tortured at the Gestapo headquarters in Limoges, and then she was sent to Ravensbrück concentration camp.
And that is where she was executed.
And eventually, on Himmler's orders, Violette, with her two friends, was shot.
And she was how old then?
23 just.
Gosh. And while all this was going on, you were being looked after by your grandparents.
Yep.
You were so young, you were just 2.5 when she died.
Yes.
Now, Violette was awarded the George Cross for
gallantry,
for courage. You collected the medal on behalf of your mother when you were just 4. And you were so young when your mother died. Do you have any memories of her, this remarkable woman?
I remember walking to the station with this lady in her dark suit, which was my mother, with my grandmother, and we got to this place. And then Violette waved goodbye and we waved goodbye, and she disappeared down this big dark hole. And I never understood what it was until I asked my grandmother about it. And she said, yes, that was the last time we ever saw Violette. It was Stockwell Tube Station.
Now, the medals we've got here are replicas because you put your mother's George Cross up for auction.
Yes.
They are very valuable.
Yes.
At auction, it sold for £260,000. And you sold it because you needed the money for it, I imagine.
I did.
Was it a difficult decision for you?
In the end, no. It was a decision that I knew that I was going to take. I needed a home. I didn't have a home. And so in the end, I decided yes. And I'm quite happy where the medals have gone. They've gone to the Imperial War Museum.
Hers is such a remarkable story. I wonder how you think of her in your daily life and what you think her significance is now.
Violette is an inspiration today to all of those young people working in dangerous places, not necessarily in foreign countries, but all around us, whether it's the police, the nurses, the doctors, whatever.
Thank you.
This is a very well-travelled case. Who did it belong to?
Well, it belonged to my mother's sister, Clare Hollingworth, who was, in her time, a rather well-known war correspondent.
She was very well-known, wasn't she, when she had the scoop of the century?
She was indeed.
So she found herself, or rather maybe positioned herself, in Poland in 1939. She must have had a real sort of nose for a good story, mustn't she?
She certainly did. She was driving into Germany, and she saw the German tanks lining up.
Sitting there waiting to roll into Poland.
Many, many tanks. And when she got back, she phoned the story through, and it wasn't necessarily believed. But shortly afterwards, they actually rolled past her hotel room. She hung a telephone out of the window, and they believed her. She became, I think they call it a stringer for some newspaper or another. She worked for many newspapers.
So being on the spot really was what got her the stories. She travelled all over the world. She was where things were happening.
Yes.
And she was ready to find the story and had the nose to seek it out. So this was her travelling case that had her passports, her press passes and other documentation. And it went everywhere with her.
And I understand that to her dying day, she slept with a passport by her bed.
Just in case the phone rang.
Just in case.
So what an interesting sort of vestige of Clare Hollingworth's life, and a very difficult thing to value. I think that the collection as a whole is worth several £1,000s. I think one thing's certain, that this case and these passports are witness to a really significant war correspondent of the 20th century.
Absolutely amazing, yes.
Thank you for sharing her story with us.
It's a pleasure.
Millicent Fawcett was, of course, an extraordinary woman, as Joe's been finding out.
Can I see your T-shirt? This is Fawcett today. So who was Millicent Fawcett?
Millicent Fawcett was the leader of the suffrage movement, the constitutional suffrage movement, which was passionate about votes for women, but believed it should be done legally, constitutionally, and peacefully. And she devoted, in effect, her entire life, from the age of 19, when she got signatures for the petition to get women put into the reform bill, and she achieved her ambition in 1928, when the Equal Franchise Act was finally passed. And she went away from the House of Commons and went home, and she wrote down, "I've been an extremely lucky woman. I have seen it through from beginning to end." I mean, this was 61 years by then. And I think the argument is she wasn't lucky because she made it happen. Without her, it would never have happened. It was her persistence, the fact that she literally never gave up.
And she never gave up with being non-violent.
When the suffragettes first started operating at the beginning of the 20th century, she was at first admiring of them. She thought that they would galvanize the movement, which indeed they did. But she increasingly became worried and upset as the suffragette movement became more violent. And she always stuck to her own ideals, that the vote, if it was to be won, would be won peacefully.
So this jewel that I have here in my hand was given to Millicent.
It was given to Millicent by the movement, so it was to make her feel appreciated.
I don't think I have held such a potent, symbolic jewel on the Antiques Roadshow ever.
It's wonderful to hear you saying that, because to us it is hugely symbolically important, hugely important to us. And I'm sure Millicent would have been very, very pleased. And in fact, she's shown wearing it in that photograph.
I think it is absolutely superb. A proper suffragist jewel. You know, value, my gosh. To put a value on something so potent, so emotionally charged, and so important to every single woman in the country.
I know.
You know, how can you put a price on that? But nevertheless, I'm going to try. And I would say, because of what it represents, I would say you would be looking in the region of £25,000 to £30,000. It's insignificant to what this represents.